Hello and welcome to another VPW review. My name is Gary and today we are going to be looking at a game that has been on this channel extensively. WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth released in late 2002 and we have much to talk about, like the WWE Draft, the gameplay improvements, and maybe one of the best season modes in any wrestling game. Although we are far removed from the release of Shut Your Mouth, let's try to review the game as it was when it was released, but also maybe with a little sprinkle of hindsight. If you like this sort of video and want to see more video game reviews just like this one, then please consider subscribing. I also tend to get little details wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments and keep me right. WWE SmackDown Just Bring It was released and set the wrestling world somewhat ablaze. Even with the game ultimately being a bit of a disappointment in certain areas, it was a relatively well received game, and sold just as well. While Yuke's has clearly showed some teething pains while moving on to the new PS2 generation, it's clear that they were out to prove a point with their new release, which would improve on Just Bring It in almost every way. One of the biggest complaints about Just Bring It was just how disappointing the roster selection was. The WWE at the time had just acquired WCW and ECW and in turn received a lot of the top talent from those companies, but none of them really appeared in Just Bring It, even with the acquisition happening long before the release of the game. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth had been first shown earlier in 2002, and this was during the time when the World Wildlife Fund was suing the WWF, accusing the Federation of causing confusers to their cause by having similar abbreviations in their name. Unfortunately, the fund would end up winning their case, and now the wrestling WWF would have to change their name to the now recognizable WWE. As Shut Your Mouth was being developed during this time frame, there exist early trailers of the game that contain very little or no WWF logos. For example, on the SmackDown Fist Arena, there is no logo above the stage, perhaps because Yuke's were unsure which logo would be used in the final game. As mentioned, the name change was confirmed through 2002, and when the game was released in October of that year, it was released with the WWE branding, and as such is the first game to carry the WWE banner. As the WWE would acquire its main competition and change its name, the WWE was going through a major change at the time, as they would then create their own competition by splitting the whole WWE brand into two distinct shows, Raw and SmackDown. Even though these shows had been a mainstay since 1993 and 1999 respectively, they now featured distinct and unique rosters and storylines, meaning there was very little crossover between the shows anymore, and as such, each show was a self-contained WWE production. When the game was released, they took advantage of this in a major way by highlighting the different brands and specifically incorporating the WWE Draft into their season mode, that we will discuss shortly. Booting up a match in Shut Your Mouth immediately shows some clear graphical improvements, but we'll get into those later. For now, let's talk about the gameplay. The controls are mostly unchanged from Just Bring It. Square is still your reversal button, cross is for strikes, triangle runs, and circle for grapples. One of the loading screens even points out that blocking strikes is now mapped solely to the square button, while blocking grapples requires a directional input with square. And yes, you can even counter finishers if timed just right. I'm not sure if that's new this year or I just missed it in Just Bring It, but it definitely feels more responsive here. The overall pace has been slowed slightly, putting more emphasis on reversals and wrestling flow. Matches still average around 4 to 5 minutes, and they remain just as exciting as they were in the previous 3 games. One noticeable change is the removal of the crowd fighting, a feature that I actually really enjoyed in Just Bring It. Even back in 2001, it definitely looked a little bit goofy, so I totally understand why it was cut. However, I still miss it. That being said, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth makes up for it with expanded environmental interactions. You can now climb the stage in certain arenas like King of the Ring or the SmackDown Fist set, leading to some incredibly wild hardcore spots, such as Rob Van Dam, he can hit the 5-star frog splash off the stage, or Kevin Nash can jackknife someone clean off the edge. Hell in a Cell has been completely reworked too. The cage now surrounds the ring properly, so you can perform finishers on top of it or dive off like a complete maniac. Even the ringside got an upgrade. The commentary tables are now massive, making them much easier and much more satisfying to break. When they shatter, the monitors bounce and the sides explodes, and generally, it just looks brutal. In past games, breaking a table was either too tricky or too underwhelming, but here, it's a highlight. And yes, you can still ride the Undertaker's bike around ringside. It's ridiculous, but it's awesome. Shut Your Mouth also expands the match types, with 6-man tags, improved TLC and ladder matches, and the new Slobber Knocker Anywhere. This twist on the classic mode lets you roam the full backstage area, taking out as many opponents as possible within a time limit. It's a brilliant use of the new environments built for season mode. Weapon grapples also get a glow up. Hitting grapples while holding a chair or ladder now triggers a unique over-the-top animation that deals massive damage and genuinely looks brutal. And as mentioned, Hell in a Cell finally feels like the real thing. Gone are the weird undersized cages from Just Bring It and SmackDown 2, now the cage surrounds the ring properly, with breakable doors, climbable walls, and the ability to brawl on top of or dive off the top of the cage. It's one of the best year-on-year upgrades in the series. The match also supports multiple superstars. Although the max player count has dropped from 8 to 6 due to the graphical improvements, it's a trade-off. But the smoother gameplay makes the 6-man chaos more manageable, and yes, you can still play locally with a multi-tap. Season mode is the crown jewel. Spanning 2 full in-game years, it features Brand Warfare, the NWO, a massive roster of over 60 superstars, including long-awaited Invasion names like Hogan, Nash, DDP, and Kidman. The fully explorable backstage area also includes a kind of Madison Square Garden style corridor, a New York subway, and WWF New York. And these are not just set dressing. You can actually interact with these superstars to trigger storylines backstage, form alliances, or start brawls. All 17 areas are also playable in the exhibition's Falls Count Anywhere match. The Creation Suite is now deeper too, with better visuals and over 58 preset movesets, many of which are from non-WWE talent. It's easier than ever to create convincing created characters, and for kids like me, scouring cause.ws for formulas was a rite of passage. As mentioned previously, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth features a significant graphical increase over the previous game. Yuke's were clearly able to leverage the power of the PS2 more than Just Bring It ever did, and with this newfound power we have improved character models, more emotive faces during matches and cutscenes, and a more realistic presentation all around. A lot of the characters just generally look a lot better than their previous models in Just Bring It, but considering the influx of new talent from the Invasion, there are actually so many people appearing in the game for the first time. There are even characters like The Rock and Triple H who feature multiple attires. Some attires are completely different outfits, and some are just casual backstage outfits. They're viewable in season mode and playable in other game modes. One great example of this feature is Kurt Angle. If you challenge Kurt Angle backstage at the King of the Ring pay-per-view, you can challenge him to a hair versus hair match, and should he lose, then his hair will be cut for the rest of the season mode. He will be bald. He will be using his bald attire, which you can then unlock and use in exhibition. I guess one minor critique of this is that the attires are denoted by using A, B, and C, which can make it really hard to know which actual costume you're choosing, and this is something that is eventually improved in later titles. Where SmackDown Just Bring It only features a few realistic arenas and the rest are modeled after WrestleMania 2000, Shut Your Mouth recreates every major pay-per-view from that year in amazing detail. There are more than 14 pay-per-view arenas in this game, from Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, to No Mercy, to Armageddon. And all those arenas are unlockable in season mode and usable in exhibition. Just Bring It was wildly criticised for a fairly awful commentary system. Now, they tried to implement a commentary system that adapted to what was happening on screen, so Michael Cole and Taz would leave gaps in the lines for people's names, but it was a little too robotic and the lines actually rarely flowed together. Shut Your Mouth instead aims to simplify the process by having Jerry Lawler and good old JR just say full commentary lines that are vague enough to be repeated and don't feature people's names unless the line is specific to that superstar. I do think that this is a much better implementation and leads to less repetitive lines as a result. Reviews for Shut Your Mouth were generally favourable, with GameNow giving the game a perfect score, saying that this is the new standard for wrestling games. GameSpy, much like myself, heaped praise onto the new Hell in a Cell match type. Total Games would praise the game for having almost every feature that a fan would ever want in a wrestling game, and GameSpot would praise the various improvements in this release, but still criticise how fast the overall gameplay actually is. Shut Your Mouth also received the distinction of being re-released under the Platinum banner here in the UK. That essentially meant that if the game was out of circulation, you would be able to grab it again, and I think it was a little cheaper. But it would appear in a new game box and a new Platinum spine and design, and it received this award after selling over 300,000 units in the UK alone. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth would end up being the golden standard for wrestling games at this time. At the time of its release, there were other games on other platforms like WrestleMania X8 for the GameCube, and while those games were certainly getting their roses, there was no denying that the mainline PS2 series was the flagship and was vastly better than the other offerings on the other consoles. And for as good as SmackDown Shut Your Mouth was, the world was not ready for what would be next when Yuke's and THQ the next year would release the iconic Here Comes the Pain. Where SmackDown Just Bring It ultimately disappointed, Shut Your Mouth looked to improve on almost every criticism hurled at Just Bring It. With improved gameplay, a whole new graphical system, an open world season mode, real-life pay-per-view arenas, improved commentary, and so much more. It's hard to deny that SmackDown Shut Your Mouth isn't one of the best releases that they ever made in the mainline series. If Just Bring It was a reminder that Ukes can make mistakes, Shut Your Mouth was absolutely the team stepping up to the plate to remind people who they are. And they were aiming to hit it out the park with Here Comes the Pain, which is now widely regarded as possibly the best WWE game ever made. So Here Comes the Pain would be the first game to ditch the naming convention of using The Rock's catchphrases. Gameplay was again massively improved, and we will get into that more in a future review. And that's going to be us for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I was always a massive fan of Here Comes the Pain, and maybe nostalgia has blinded me over the years to forget this underrated gem. Over the years, especially with the launch of VPW, I've really grown to love Shut Your Mouth because the gameplay is still really similar to SmackDown 1 and 2, and graphically it's a really nice game. We've also played the season mode on the channel, and I really do appreciate how good the season mode is in the game, with the open nature of the storytelling, letting you explore the environments, and really talk to whoever you want. It really is a wrestling fan's dream. Even though Here Comes the Pain would simplify this season mode system by removing the free roam, maybe it just wasn't sustainable for the Ukes team to keep it updated from year to year. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your memories of this game in the comments down below, and subscribe for more wrestling game reviews and gameplay. Thank you for watching, have a great day, and bye for now.